All right, looks like we're live. Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's LinkedIn Live session on the topic What if AI didn't take over recruitment but took it to the next level? I'm Chavi, content manager at Recruit CRM, and I will be moderating today's session. While I'll mostly be behind the scenes, our expert today will be taking the spotlight. Joining us today is Nicholas Hudson. Let me give you a very quick introduction. Nicholas is the founder of Automate Solutions, specializing in AI driven automation for recruitment agencies. Previously, he's also led global talent acquisition at Intenture Group and partnered at Clay. So, welcome, Nicholas. Do you want to say a quick hello to the audience?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Shavi. Pleasure to be here and talking a bit about AI automation and what we do all day long at Automate Solutions.
Awesome. All right. With that, let's get started with the session. So, Nick, can you start by telling us a bit more about yourself and Automents and how your journey led you to explore automation in recruitment?
Of course. So, yeah, as Shavi already introduced, my name is Nick, one of the co-founders of Automate Solutions. Next to my co-founders, Fabian and Frederick, we founded this agency in 2023. Um, Before that, I've been working in recruitment with a recruitment agency specialized in the tax and audit space from Germany. And I've worked there for 4 years as global head of talent acquisition. Did a lot of stuff in, basically hiring recruiters. So I did more than 60 hires within a time span of 2 years before I then transitioned into the director of operations role, where I basically was doing a lot of automations and help the recruiters to focus more on basically doing the right things, like talking to people. It's a human to human business, and recruiters should not spend all day long in the CRM. And this was how basically Automate Solutions, the idea behind it, also came up. And yeah, before that, actually, how I landed in recruitment, I had an e-commerce business before that, unfortunately, during COVID, took a bad hit as the whole supply chain went bankrupt in China. So I had to pivot. And a good friend of mine asked me to basically join his recruitment agency, and that's how I joined Intenture Group. And basically, it's also where we saw the impact that automation can have on a recruitment agency. Because if you take away all this admin stuff and things that are repetitive, non-contributing to any revenue-generating activities, then you basically have a system that enables recruiters to do more of the human work. And I think that's also a bit of what this session today is about.
All right, thanks, Nick. Could you walk us through the journey to the thrill story of Intenture Group and how Recruit CRM and automation have played a role in your success?
Sure. Yeah. So basically, the problem back in the days was that most recruiters didn't have like a super structured process. That means everyone was working a bit across the place. There was no system really behind like chasing CVs, for example. That means you have spoken to a great candidate, then you have to get the CV. It has to be logged into the system, etc. So for that, for example, was a very nice automation that we've built that basically creates an automatic landing page where they can upload their CV on it. Then they had like a consent page where they can like confirm some companies they want to get introduced to, etc. So the problem was just basically having no standardized processes in place. And automation solved a huge part of that because we just took away everything which basically would otherwise be done very individually by everyone. And this is obviously not really scalable because you cannot replicate it to new team members. If you onboard new staff, then they should follow a process and not everyone, not just how they think they should be doing it. And automation solved that. And it also solved a big data problem because like what also happens, and probably everyone knows the problem, that once upon a time, there will be the point where you say, okay, I cannot trust my CRM because the data in there is not correct. So you just have outdated data or missing data, etc. And it just becomes unusable almost. And we started basically automating most of the data capturing by using really detailed forms that guided recruiters through the qualification process with candidates, etc., which really led to, okay, we always had a very good candidate data set, which made the CRM super filterable, made it very, very easy to maintain, and of course, enabled recruiters to work much faster, because if you have a good data foundation in your CRM, it just makes it easier to filter through it and find the right people very quickly. And I think the Recruit CRM is a great CRM to do that. You have a lot of options with the custom field. It's super like easy to basically customize it to your needs. And also, of course, the semantic search functionalities, etc., makes it very, very good for that use cases.
All right, thanks, Nick. And AI has become, a bit of a buzzword all over, not just in the recruitment industry, but there's a lot of noise around it. How do you see AI really impacting recruitment, and where do you think most recruiters are missing the mark?
Yeah, so I think where most recruiters missing the mark right now with using AI is they think it's basically the silver bullet that just replaces their whole team and they don't need any employees anymore. And yeah, this is just like I think a false belief that this is working right now. It can take away a lot of work that is happening in the background, which doesn't require humans anymore now. Like let's think about data research, about data cleaning, updating things, etc. So there is what AI can really do a lot, or like just do like basic matchings and things like that. But I mean, recruiting is still like a super human to human business. It depends on the expertise of the recruiters to basically make the matching properly. But if you try to replace everything, then at the end of the day, you have an AI recruiter, which probably just misses all nuances that are to recruitment. So I think most people just think that recruiters or that AI for recruiting is basically replaces everyone instead of just trying to augment their processes, just getting rid of stuff that basically steals your time of the day to focus more on basically the human relationship building, speaking to candidates, speaking to people. So there's so much things that you can actually erase from your calendar and from your schedule by just having some smart AI processes and automations in place that take over these things. And in a lot of ways, also AI is much smarter than humans. So I would just leave the research work, for example, to AI. Then you just get a summary of a lot of things and you can then basically save the time on that, which can easily be 15, 20, 30 minutes per day on a candidate, for example, and or a company that you're working with. So that's where I see where a lot of recruiters miss the mark and just try to optimize or use AI for the false reasons and the false like the false parts of the business, because they just try to make it and use it as a silver bullet.
Thanks, Nick. Many recruiters still rely on CVs and generic outreach. Do you think this method is becoming obsolete in an AI-driven world? And if so, why?
Yeah, so I think using CVs or like, of course, it's a valid method, and a lot of recruiters using it very successfully to basically introduce candidates to companies and use it as business development. If I got this question right, but in principle, this is still a valid or like a valid option to do, because I mean, if you have a great candidate and you know exactly that this is the right person for a specific open role at the company, and you know this is a match, it's still a valid thing to do, and I'd still do this. However, I would not be relying fully on this method, and for the reason that there is a lot of noise in CVs as well right now. So a lot of candidates are also using AI for their CVs, using AI for applications, etc. So that is just a lot of noise that's going to be happening in the market around that. So I can see a future where basically AI is qualifying AI resumes. So we're basically having AI talking to AI, which is basically not how it should be. And that's also, I think, where the value of a recruiter comes in, because the value of a recruiter, in my opinion, is becoming more being a talent advisor. So being not only the person that just sends the CV, but also helps with defining the role, doing salary benchmarks, having market insights to communicate with their clients, to actually help them with their hiring decision and not only send a CV. I think a CV can still be used as a great door opener to get into an account, but I think it's just solely that. It will be like not a very future-proof business. So it's very transactional instead of like value-driven. So I think for a door opener, it's still okay, but I would not solely rely on that business development method.
Right. And how would you say the value of a recruiter is shifting from just managing CVs to something more impactful?
Yes. So basically, when you have there's like a lot of noise in internal recruiters' inboxes right now. Like if I see sometimes on LinkedIn, there are like 500, 1,000 applications per role, and there might be like 80% of these are AI optimized CVs or AI optimized like applications. Then this becomes a lot more work for internal talent teams to go through all this data, and they will become very frustrated in the long term. So that means that's even making recruiters more valuable, because they have their talent network, they have the people, they know their market. If they are very specialized on one industry, of course, like generalist recruiters, I think, will have a bit more issues in the future. But if you have like a very specific industry type of talent you're working with and you're well positioned in this industry, that's, I think, where the real value of a recruiter comes into play, because then you know your market. You can help them and answer the questions why you should exactly hire this person, and help you with salary benchmarking. How much do you actually have to pay this person to make a good hire? Which skills do you need to do this position? Specifically, I think this is important for new roles that are like right now coming up with this, for example, AI developer roles, etc. A lot of companies don't even know what they need. So in that position, you have, for example, experienced recruiter that know this market, that talking to candidates in this market every day. So I think there's the value, because they can advise them on what they actually should hire and what they need. Because I think also a lot of companies will spend a lot of learning money on these types of talent, which are emerging right now, that recruiters can really help them save money. Even though, of course, everyone knows it's not super cheap to work with a recruiter, but if you see it in the bigger picture, if you make a mishire in this industry or in these emerging roles, for example, you're gonna pay a lot of money just by having talent that you actually don't need and that don't fulfill the position that you hired them for. And a recruiter can basically, with their experience, with their market knowledge, help you make the best hire that you need in the right moment. And that's where I see the value of a recruiter being actually even more important than pre-AI, because AI is creating so much noise that no one actually knows what they need.
All right, Nick. My next question for you would be: we hear that recruiters, won't disappear but evolve, like you just mentioned. The roles would change, the values of recruiters would change as well. Can you explain what the future of recruitment will look like as AI continues to shape the industry?
Yes, so I think I explained a bit of that already in my previous answer. So I think that it becomes much more of a talent advisory thing, that like a CV service, mostly, or most likely will become a bit problematic for most agencies. And I see these agencies will be struggling in the future, because like internal talent teams, they will have access to the same technology. I mean, we, for example, build a lot of talent matching engines. That means they just match talent to specific open positions, etc. And if talent acquisition teams have the access to the same technology, they can most of the stuff that the recruiter would be doing manually themselves. And that's why it's more important for a recruiter to be an expert in their market, knowing, okay, who hires what, why are they hiring this, who's looking to change roles, what are the salary expectations, what are the skills needed, what are like emerging skills that are needed in this industry, what are, for example, tech stacks that people should know when you hire someone like this. I think it becomes much more like advisory position of a recruiter, where they should position themselves to not become like a bit of a transactional person that will be probably struggling in the future. And that's where I see recruiters be developing into.
All right, thanks, Nick. My next question would be around specialization in the industry. So, how can recruiters position themselves as experts in niche markets, and why do you think this specialization is so important in the age of AI?
Yes, so it's a human-to-human business that does not only to apply to AI, but of course also applies to. It does not only apply to recruitment; it applies to basically every industry. So while there's so much noise around AI and so much AI-generated content, so much AI-generated video content, probably everyone who's seeing Instagram, I'm seeing so many AI-generated reels right now. It's ridiculous. So you just like the line between what is real and what is fake, it like gets so blurry that real human-to-human conversations and authenticity will stand out a lot in the future. So I would always emphasize to everyone we're working with also to like look into building a personal brand, building a recruiter brand, being present on like the networks where their talent spends time, because this will help you don't feel like someone who's just an AI bot. That in the future will be probably an option to that's out on the market, that there's an AI bot that you can talk to and get qualified and they will match you to positions. But I'd say being very specialized in the first place, of course, first of all, get specialized if you're not yet. Then make sure that you're still a human, have a human front on your car, have a content machine producing content, and don't try to replace yourself using AI. Replace the stuff that steals your time with AI and focus the time you have on the human part of the thing, on a recruitment process, or basically the human part of presenting yourselves, building your brand. I think that has a huge impact on the most recruiters that are right now on the market.
All right. And in this world of AI, like, that we're living in right now, what role do you think visibility and positioning play in helping recruiters stand out as experts in their field?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I mean, of course, it's a limiting. It depends a bit on the size of your company. Definitely, it helps you basically if you're a smaller size business, you're a lean business. Then having a brand as a recruiter will definitely help you win business and win candidates, because people will. You don't have to rely only on outbound methods, because you then have your brand and you become like a trusted person in the market that people come to as an expert, and not because they just need a transactional service quickly, but rather work with you long term. So I think just like specialization and branding is very important.
Right, thanks, Nick. Now, coming to how AI can help, AI has the potential to free up a lot of time for recruiters, like you mentioned earlier. In your experience, how does it help with tedious admin work like CRM updates and research and other things?
Yes. So basically, with AI now, you can get a lot of data that haven't been easy to access as before. If you look into, for example, tools like Clay, N8N, all these tools, basically, they have agents inside, built inside, that can access the web. That means you don't have to rely only on databases like Apollo, etc. anymore. You can basically send out your little AI helpers, collect data. Let's say you have to qualify a company and make sure that the company culture fits to a candidate profile you're working with. So you take basically your notes of the call transcripts, for example, and you feed that into an agent that goes on the company website and looks at the benefits they offer, the company culture they're explaining, etc. And then you make a matching from there. Basically, just let it analyze the information that are out there. So, of course, this is like only one use cases of probably thousands. And yeah, there's like, I think like the simplest functionalities are that every recruiter should be using is, for example, note taking, just taking away everything that can be forgotten. So note taking, I think, is super important to do. Syncing that with information in your CRM, updating the CRM and enriching your CRM with data that helps recruiters make better decisions, and matching between candidates and clients. So I think basically everything which is super tedious and like data research work, I would hand all of that stuff over to AI.
All right. Can you share an example of how AI has helped you personally make better decisions in your recruitment processes?
Yes, so basically when I was doing a lot of recruitment processes, it was pre-AI, so we didn't have that back then. So, but what we see across our clients is basically just the speed, for example. We have, for example, a workflow that basically does shortlisting of candidates, that looks into your CRM, has a position. Basically, you give it a position, an open job that you just qualified with the client, and this job then gets basically transitioned into some filter settings using an AI agent that does that for us, and it creates a search in your CRM, shortlist candidate that would be a match against for this position by using this information of the candidate profile, and it takes basically notes, emails, call transcripts, and it matches that with the job description, and then puts them basically into a shortlist. So I think Recruit CRM has a similar feature that does something similar to that, but not all of CRMs have that. And what our agents also can do, basically do a matching by using databases. So that means everything which is not in your CRM and would probably then make it harder for you to fill the role because you just have 3 or 4 candidate profiles, it would also go into external databases and find them candidates and match them also, and give you a shortlist to people that you could outreach to and ask to basically if they're interested in this position. I think this is a pretty cool workflow that saves a lot of time. Although we had clients that spent 4 or 5 days on building initial lists of candidates for specific positions, which they can now do it in less than 15 minutes.
All right, thanks, Nick. Now, coming to tools, with so many AI and automation tools flooding the market, how should recruiters approach choosing the right ones for their business?
Mhm. Yeah, difficult question. It always depends a bit on your technical ability, of course, and what you want to automate. So, especially, I would just go into like some automation tools here, because I think this is the easiest example. If you just have a few data points that you want to sync from, I don't know, your note taker into your CRM, for example, you can go with Zapier, for example. It's super easy, super simple to use, etc. It won't be super expensive if you just want to have like a few hundred tasks a month. So then you can use super simple use Zapier. It is not expensive, and it also super simple to use for people that are non-techie. The evolution of that would be then using make.com, which is a bit more techy. You have a bit more options. You have a bit more like a bit more complexity on a bit more complex workflows that you can build. But if I can suggest any recruiter learning any tool, and if they already want or are able or want to learn a bit more techy things, that's definitely N8N. This is a tool that definitely transformed our own operations and how we approach automation a lot, because you can basically connect any tool to any tool, like all the others can also do it. But this tool is way more scalable. You can self-host it. It costs you $7 a month. Just to give you a comparison here, if you're running 1 million executions in Zapier, it costs you around 3,000 something dollars a month. And it would still be the same $7 that you self-host. So it's super scalable and can reduce a lot of costs on these automation tools. And it has a super nice AI first infrastructure. So you have all these AI agents already built in. You have basically can connect any agent to any tool that you're using and pull data from anywhere, run it through an agent, let it do specific tasks using their tools, do a web research, for example, and then feed it back into the CRM. So I think these three tools are definitely, depending on your tech savviness, worth looking into. From Zapier being the easiest to N8N being the most complex one. So these are the tools I would suggest looking into as a recruiter. And yeah, of course, if you have a huge volume on automation that you want to run, then probably look into Make or N8N, because Zapier is going to eat a lot of money from your bank account.
All right, thanks, Nick. Now you mentioned, we've discussed briefly about the importance of keeping a clean CRM. Can you explain why it's so crucial for recruiters, and how does it impact productivity and long-term business growth?
Yeah, so I think the worst thing that can happen with a CRM, if people that are working in the CRM are losing trust in the CRM. And probably if you're using a CRM, you've had that already, that you see, okay, yeah, I cannot even trust my own data. And then you just stopped using it. You went back to an Excel sheet and started tracking it in another tool. So it just makes life unnecessarily hard. And it prevents your team basically from trusting a proven process. So that's why I think data quality in a CRM is super important. The CRM should always be the single source of truth, because this is also super important in an AI first world or in an AI driven business, because you need to have a data foundation that you can use AI on, that you can basically trust on, because AI is only as good as the context it can work with. So that means if you feed it with bad data, it will also have a bad output. So the more important and the more AI you want to be using, the better or the more you have to make sure that the data foundation it has to work with is good. So, and that's where I see that data in the CRM should always be cleaned. And I mean, today it's almost easier than ever. You can basically plug an automation in your CRM, re-enrich LinkedIn profiles, check if the person's still working in that role. Did they get a promotion? Did they change jobs, etc.? So this not only keeps data clean, but it also opens up new business development opportunities or new candidates that you can approach. Because let's say a hiring manager you've been worked with, you made a few placements with them already, they're super happy with the service you provide, and they change the roles into a new company. That's a possible new client for you that you have already a warm contact to. So that's why I would always suggest have some automations in place that re-enrich profiles and make sure that the data gets updated once in a while, because otherwise you're working with data that is probably a year old, 2 years old. That doesn't reply on your emails anymore. They don't respond to your outreach because they just don't are in a position anymore that they are actually interesting for you, but you're still trying to go after them. So it's, first of all, lost time of yourself, lost trust in the CRM, and basically just makes life for recruiters harder to work with outdated data. And yeah, no one likes that.
All right, thanks, Nick. How can tools like ChatGPT or Claude act as personal assistants for recruiters, and what's the benefit of connecting them with knowledge bases like Airtable?
Yes. So I think every business should give every employee a ChatGPT or a Claude license. So it's just an absolute no-brainer to do. It's a super cheap investment. It's probably $20 a month for each of these tools. So depending on the use cases that you want to do with that, because you basically equip every one of your teammates with a personal assistant they can use. And as mentioned before, AI is only as good as the context it has to work with. And that's why I would always emphasize everyone that is starting to use these things, build custom GPTs or Claude projects for your team, because then you can supply it with enough context and information so they can use it properly and they get a predictable output because everyone works with the same knowledge. So if you want to go a step further, for example, and you want to use Claude, Claude has an integrated MCP functionality. That means an MCP is basically like a server that can enable Claude to do API calls to your tools. So you can literally have Claude accessing your Airtable database or your Notion database or whatever MCP you connected with, and can basically chat with the information in your systems, which is pretty cool. And why I like to do that with Airtable is because Airtable is a database tool. That means you can store any data inside these tools and start chatting with your data. So you can basically supply Claude with all the context about your business or relevant information and chat with these information. And let's say you track job listings in an Airtable database and you want to know, okay, which are the companies that are relevant today to reach out to? And it shows you the 10 best companies that have open positions, and tells you exactly who are the people. It can do a web research on these people, find a person in the company that would be relevant for you, and then you can just use it as a personal research assistant on that, and kind of a business development assistant that helps you find the data and provides you with the information, the research, and even an outreach strategy for this account. So that's why I would always say, just try to work with that, figure out the own use cases that would be relevant for you, and then just play around with that. Because if you once you understood how this concept behind MCP and connecting it with your tools work, then your LLMs, and basically ChatGPT and Claude are the LLMs I was mentioning, they become a real superpower, like a superpowered AI assistant that can access your data. And it's, I think, a very cool skill to learn in the near future.
All right, thanks, Nick. I think those are all the important questions that we've covered today. We've covered a lot of ground on this topic, with you today. Do you have any final parting words for our audience before we move on to the Q&A? Any closing remarks before we move on?
Sure. So I can just emphasize everyone to look into that. So AI is it's out of the box. So the Pandora's box is open. It will not go away. So everyone has to learn it somehow in some way. And if you're scared from it, don't be scared. Just start with the very basic tools. Use ChatGPT, use Claude, try connecting it with an Airtable base, etc. There are tutorials for almost everything that you want to do with that. Just get your hands dirty, try it, and brick by brick. That's what I always emphasize. So no one ever learned it from not using it. So it's about using, getting the hands dirty, and you'll see immediate efficiency gains once you just start using that properly.
All right, thanks, Nick. I think those are that's it for the main session today. Now we're going to move into our Q&A. So in case anybody in the audience has any questions for Nick, if anything in the discussion today sparked your interest or curiosity, do ask those questions. You can drop them in the chat and we'll pick as many as we can today. So Nick, we actually do have a couple of questions. One of the attendees is asking, what's one task do you think I should automate right away as someone who is new to this?
Yes. So if you're new to recruitment, I think you should look into automating parts of your business development, because at the end of the day, if you're a new business, you need to make some money to stay alive. So I would basically look into automation of sourcing relevant data that shows you which companies are hiring. Job scraping is a good way to do that. So just find the next 10 companies to reach out to that have an open position. So I would do that, or probably I think that's a good one. Actually, job scraping or identifying new hiring managers. I think a good tool to do that, very simple, is using Clay. So I think looking into Clay, they have a super easy job scraping functionality. You can just pull up a new table, use jobs as a source, and you can basically source 25,000 jobs basically for free almost. And then can use some enrichments to find the hiring managers, but basically just getting the data to know who you're going after, because also that's a problem. Like a lot of businesses right now, they're just still doing super long copy paste email outreach to everyone instead of going after the people that are actually hiring people and have a need for the service that you can provide. So that's what I would first do: focus on the people that actually need your services instead of just trying to reach everyone. So, and job scraping or finding people that just start in a new company as a hiring manager is a good way to get started. So we've seen good results with these type of campaigns.
All right, thanks, Nick. We have Jessica asking, what's the name of the AI that you said was $7 per month? I think she might have
Yeah,
missed.
so it's not an AI itself. It's basically using NNN, but hosted on a server yourself. So that means usually NNN is a cloud-based software, so it comes with a price of from $29 per month or $24 per month, but you can self-host it on a server like DigitalOcean, etc., and then it becomes $7 a month. So you can just send me a DM afterwards, and I'll send you a link that explains that a bit more.
All right, awesome. We have one question, another one. How do you personally balance automation with keeping the human touch in candidate communication?
Yeah, so basically the secret here is just don't automate it too much. Basically, what you can do is you can. So what we usually do is when we're doing outreach to candidates is we don't do it on a super high volume automated email scale. So we rather let AI draft messages and supply the recruiters with these messages, and then basically let them read through it and approve messages, and then you can still automate that outreach over LinkedIn, over email, whatever channel you prefer. But I would probably still not try to let AI write all your full messages for you, because as said, like AI is only as good as the context it gets. And specifically, if you do that on information that are, for example, only on LinkedIn, there's like not enough information to write a really, really good email for that, unless you know exactly what your candidates want to hear. Then you can, of course, automate that. But I would, if you use AI to basically and want to keep it human, have a human in the loop step that basically looks into the message and approve it before you send it out.
All right, thank you so much, Nick. I think those are all the questions we have for today. But yeah, the audience was engaged as well. So thank you for that amazing session, Nick. And with that, we will conclude the session. Don't forget to connect with Nicholas on LinkedIn and check out his company, Automine Solutions. I've dropped the links in the chat on all the platforms. If you'd like to learn a bit more about Recruit CRM as well, feel free to visit our website. If you're interested in exploring our ATS and CRM, you can easily book a demo with us and we'll walk you through everything. And we also have a no commitment free trial so you can experience the product firsthand. And do follow us on social media to stay updated on our upcoming events and other exciting news and other collaborations with Nicholas as well. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. And we can't wait to see you at